In this video I'll show you the Destiny 2 zooming boomer titan build that is all about moving lightning fast while hitting enemies in the face hard. During this video we will fill this build cheat sheet showing everything you need to know about this build in only one slide. If you found this valuable for you, then please leave a like to help me make more content like this for you. And now let's dive right into this awesome build. DirtyHotte's zooming boomer titan. A PvE focused build moving lightning fast while hitting hard and being protected by a shield at the same time. Because of the resilience issues we had lately on Titan, that shield is really a game changer. You will have non-stop powered melees with that build, and you will have a melee damage buff with nearly 100% uptime. And I start with the subclass stuff. I mean, obviously it's arc. In regards of the super, I use Thunder Crash because Thunder Crash is best. Because there's no other way to fly around like Superman and hitting down like Thor himself, the Thunder God. I will go quickly over the abilities, the aspects and fragments to get that started. So I like to run Towering Barricade, especially now that resilience doesn't work. Maybe it's working right now, but as long as it doesn't work, Towering Barricade really helps a lot. Yes, there's Thruster, the new like dodge ability. Whatever. I just don't like Thruster for PvE. Then Strafe Lift, because with Strafe Lift you get some nice movement going. And then we use Seismic Strike, because when you run fast, and then when you hit hard. That's why we use Seismic Strike. It's actually like Ballistic Slam, but you don't have to jump. So that's my preferred one for PvE. Let me hear, by the way, what is your favorite Arc 3.0 Titan melee? Let me hear that, guys. For grenade, I use Pulse Grenade. In some cases, Storm is actually better this season, but that would be for a different build. Now let's talk right away a little bit about aspects. I like to run Knockout for that one. Okay, critically wounding a target, breaking their shield, infuses your melee attacks with arc energy, increases your melee range and damage for a short time, defeating targets with melee attacks, starts health regeneration, and makes you amplified. So that's nice. So as soon as you're amplified, you run fast as hell, actually, as Titan. And if you don't run fast as hell, you hit stuff hard. And if you don't kill stuff, it gets blinded while you're amplified. And then I like to run Juggernaut, because then you get the shield when you sprint for a longer time, and when you're amplified, which we will be, the shield significantly blocks more damage. That is really helpful. I like that because I'm running around all the way. I'm running around all the time. Let's just finish the fragments. So for the fragments, I like to use Spark of Resistance. While surrounded by combatants, you are more resistant to incoming damage. That's a nice to have in PvE, and I also like the plus 10 strength. And then I use a Spark of Recharge. While critically wounded, your melee and grenade energy regenerates more quickly. And I got like wounded critically very often, so that's helpful. The third one is kind of I don't know. Rapidly defeating targets while you are amplified creates an orb of power. So that's Spark of Amplitude. That's what I am running right now, but there are definitely better options. And now let's quickly switch to the cheat sheet, and let's see how that actually looks on the new cheat sheet. So we have the abilities down, as I said, Thunder Crash, Towering Barricade, Strafe Lift, Seismic Strike, Pulse Grenade. Then we have the aspects with a little explanation here to summarize that for you on the cheat sheet. And then we have the fragments, so you see what we are running here. So the subclass stuff is basically down. And now let's talk a little bit about gear. Let's talk about gear. So what exotic are we running with that build? Let me switch over to that. And with that build, I have to say it, okay? An Insurmountable Skullfort, aka also known as the Skullfuck helmet, is the best exotic you can run with it. Oh, one of the best. It's absolutely amazing because Transfusion Matrix kills with arc melee abilities, trigger health regeneration and restore melee energy. And you make like kill after kill. So you always have your melee up and you just keep punching stuff and sprinting. Okay, so that's awesome. This is so awesome. So this is the exotic we're gonna run with that build. So let's talk quickly about the weapons I paired that with before we go to the mods. So in the kinetic slot with this build, I like to use a shotgun. It doesn't have to be round-held. We will talk about that one a little bit more in a second. You definitely want to run 1-2 punch. If you can have enhanced 1-2 punch, even better, because then you need less pellets to trigger it and it's more consistent. Why do we use that? Because when you get your timing down, okay, when you get the timing down with 1-2 punch, you can actually sprint, slide, 1-2 punch, seismic strike into an enemy and will get the 1-2 punch damage buff, which is about 250 to 300% melee damage increase. I have that on the cheat sheet. That's awesome. By the way, if you manage to set it up correctly and you don't use the Skullfort helmet, but you use Thundersteps, here's a little free tip. If you use Thundersteps with that setup and you manage to have the right timing, you actually do more damage with Seismic Strike than with a Thunder Crash, even wearing the Thunder Crash exotic. So even wearing, I put it in the vault. I don't know. With the curious thing, you do more damage than a Thunder Crash. That's awesome. That brings us to the next weapon, Riskrunner. So this season, Riskrunner really shines. I love to run it, especially with the seasonal activities that all have fallen. So you get a lot of arc damage in, and basically most of the time arc conductor is up. So you got the shield. And you got more damage. That's just amazing. Heavy, I like to run a rocket launcher with auto-loading and tracking. It's just the casual, lazy guys heavy of choice. You could absolutely run a fusion rifle. This one is pretty neat with that build, moving target swashbuckler. So that are the weapons for the Zooming Boomer Titan. With that said, let's go over to the cheat sheet. As I said before, the exotic is the Insurmountable Skullfort. Kills with arc melee abilities trigger health regeneration and restore 100% melee energy. And yes, this isn't a typo, it's actually the G kills. I just made that up. No, it is a typo, but you have to live with it right now. Weapons I listed up here. Shotgun with 1-2 punch, that's 200% to 350% damage buff. So that's to regulars, and 350 is to bosses and vehicles, I think. Then we have Riskrunner, because Riskrunner is just nasty for these seasons activity. Rocket launcher with tracking and auto-loading. And now let's talk about the mods of that build, okay? Let's hop over right to the mods. You might have seen it on the exotic helmet already. I like to run, so don't talk about that the first row, because that, depending on your gear, I will have the stats in the last slot of the cheat sheet. Let's just talk about the other stuff. I like to run hands-on because gain bonus super energy on melee kills, and 90% of our kills will be melee kills, if not more. And then, that's also an important one, Well of Ions. Picking up an Arc Elemental Well causes your next melee to deal increased damage. And with the way we play that build, okay, we will have the first melee kill, and after that we will always have the damage buff. That's 30%, and yes, that stacks with 1-2 punch, obviously. So that's the first row of mods. Let's see the second one. That's kind of a no-brainer, so you will need Stasis Gauntlets, because melee kickstart is just too strong. And there we have our first melee Wellmaker mod. And then on the chest piece, I like to run melee damage resistance. You could change that depending on the activity to Concussive Dampener. That's better against boss stomps. And then the seasonal one, which gives you solar and arc damage resistance. And there's a lot of arc damage coming to you this season. And I have in the last row Bountiful Wells. Then we have like the boots. The resilience mod, I thought we talked about. I like to run submachine gun holster because most of the time I have the shotgun out, but when I have to switch that, I want to make sure my Riskrunner is actually reloaded. And there's the next melee Wellmaker mod. And then on our class item, I like to run double outreach, reduces melee cooldown when using your class ability, and seeking wells, so I don't have to run after my elemental wells. So here's the thing, you might say we don't need all the melee ability mods because we will get the melee anyway. It's basically when you fuck up the rotation, if you don't kill anything and Skullfort actually doesn't proc, you still want to have your melee back as quickly as possible, and that's why we run those as a little backup. And you might ask the same that I asked, is it... a second. You might ask the same what that I asked. Is it better to actually like remove one of the melee Wellmaker mods and put in Well of Striking? Picking up an arc elemental well grants you additional melee energy. Multiple copies of this mod increase the effect. In theory, removing one melee Wellmaker and having one Well of Striking instead should give you more melee energy back. The problem is, I tested it just briefly, and as soon as I switched out or changed the configuration so that I have one melee Wellmaker mod less, but I have Well of Striking, I didn't get any. I didn't get any wells to proc anymore. I don't know why that is, so just keep that in mind in case you're thinking about that. So let's hop back to the cheat sheet and let's see the mods. So over here, this is just how I actually have that set up. You can see Well of Irons gives 30% damage buff. And I like to show you those rows because then you can see what kind of energy affinity you need on your armor. So you will need stasis arms and some arc stuff. For bountiful whales you need solar, so that... Sorry, I just hit the mic, so that you just know that. And then let's just finish the build with the stats. So basically all the X stuff is personal preference, whatever you want. And the other stuff I like to run is 100 resilience. It doesn't really matter at the moment because of the bug. I hope it's fixed now. So 100 resilience would be great also for your barrier, or that you also have a Juggernaut up faster. And then 100 strength in case you just fuck up the rotation. And now, stay with me. There's a little secret tip, ladies and gentlemen. I want to point out the best shotgun you can run this season with the build. I'm working on that. I just finished the pattern today. I think the best one, okay? The best one you can get this season for that build in the kinetic slot is the Wastelander M5, the craftable version. I'm working on that because then you can get enhanced 1-2 punch, and also what I like to run with that, let me check that, slide shot. So you just slide 1-2 punch, slide 1-2 punch, slide 1-2 punch, punch, slide 1-2, you know, like that. You get a real nice rotation going. That's always reloading your shotgun. You do an insane amount of damage. So this is the build, okay? This is the booming zoomer, and now here's the last secret tip. I played an activity I never thought about that this build might shine, and we will play a round of that right now. You know what that is? Gambit. This build in Gambit is sick, even when they drop a heavy blocker. If you manage to get it down, okay, with the slide and your damage buff and the 1-2 punch, even heavy blockers are one hit. That's basically it. The zooming boomer, because I'm a boomer and I like to zoom around. That's it. One build, one cheat sheet, everything you need to know about that build on one slide. And if you like that approach, please leave a like. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this little piece of content, and if you want to see more Destiny 2 stuff, especially builds, check the playlist to my left. And if you are more interested in what YouTube algorithm has in petto for you, then check the one below that playlist. If you like my stuff, please leave a like and help Mom's Basement grow. See you next time. DirtyHotte out.